It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the UT Permian Basin head diving coach, Coach Jennifer Mangum. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching at college swimming and diving?
I actually had coached high school and club for 30 years. And when I was getting ready to retire, I talked to the swimming coach at UT Permian Basin. And at the time, they did not have a diving program. And I felt like we needed a diving program in this area of Texas. So we looked into trying to add that to the swim team. And that happened right after I retired from high school coaching.
What was that like getting to swim for Texas Tech?
Well, now Tech doesn't have diving and swimming anymore, but diving at Texas Tech was awesome. I loved coming down to Texas from Illinois because that's where I grew up, and coming down to Texas and diving here was just awesome. I love the atmosphere at Texas Tech campus. It was a lot of fun, and it was just, to me it was a great time of my life when I got to compete at the collegiate level on a Division I team, and just push myself and shoot for some pretty high goals.
Of course, during your time at Texas Tech, what were some of your accomplishments on the diving side?
Well, I only got to dive 3 years because then they dropped our program in 1986. But while I was at Texas Tech, I qualified for the zone meet, which is the national qualifying meet every year. And I set school records on both 1 meter and 3 meter, and was the first diver ever in the program history to compete on platform for Texas Tech.
What was that experience like, as you said, being the first to complete on platform?
That was kind of fun. We didn't have a platform to practice on at Tech, so I had to do a lot of that practice during the summer and during Christmas training. And then when we got to conference, go ahead and get through your list and warm-ups and then do it in the meet. And fortunately for me, I'm pretty fearless, so I didn't have any trouble getting up and just doing my dives. But I was proud that I was able to do that for our school.
Of course, after your collegiate career, what was that like getting into coaching on the high school level?
Coaching was something that I wasn't sure I wanted to do at first. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. But then the more that I, diving in college and the high school coaches that I had, I really felt like I had something to give back to the sport. And so getting into coaching was a lot of fun. My senior year in college, while I was doing my student teaching, I came in and worked with the high school coach every day, and learned how to spotting belts and things like that. And then when I graduated, they pretty much just hired me. So as soon as I graduated from Tech, then I was hired to be the first, well, not the first, but the diving coach for Lubbock ISD in Lubbock, Texas. And then I started the Lubbock Diving Club there, and was there for 6 years until I moved to Midland.
What was that like getting that started coming straight out of college?
It was kind of interesting. I was only 4 years older than my seniors, so I was still pretty young and pretty raw as far as that goes. But I loved working with those kids, and there were a lot of good, talented kids. I had both high school program and a junior high program, and then I started a club team that first year so that we could give more kids more opportunities to practice and to also learn 3 meter.
What was your experience like getting to work on the club level versus working on the high school level?
Club is different because the kids have to pay for their time. So the ones that are very dedicated are going to pay to come to club practice because we got to pay for the use of the facilities. And so it's a little bit different. You get a group of kids that are a little bit more dedicated. The high school kids, some of them are there just to get their letter jacket, um, which that's fine. That's a goal. But you get the more serious kids to do the club team, and then they're willing to travel and try to make junior nationals and those types of things. So it was a little bit different, and a lot of the same kids did both. But yeah, your better kids are going to do the club team.
Of course, in 2014, what was it like getting inducted into the Hall of Fame for the International Swim?
That was pretty amazing. The Masters International Swimming Hall of Fame selected me in 2014 to be inducted as a Masters diver. I had been competing Masters since 1990, and so I'd done it for many, many years, and had racked up a lot of national titles and world championships. So being selected was just an amazing feeling to be that you're going to always be remembered as somebody that set a standard and that was one of the best ever in your sport. And, to it kind of makes you feel like, wow, I'm a legend, and it was definitely an honor that I don't know that anything could top that.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to dive for the Masters?
I got into the Masters because it's a funny story actually. I trained my high school kids and I was trying to get them to learn harder dives. And so I actually got in the pool and played follow the leader with them one day, and they all said, "Well, why aren't you still competing?" And I just said, "Well, I just don't have the time to train for senior level competition anymore." And then somebody said, "Well, isn't there something else that you could do?" And so I called around and found out from a coaching friend of mine at SMU that yes, there is a master's program. And if you're interested in doing that, you can do it. If you're over 25, you can join masters and dive masters. And so I got some information and went to my first masters meet in 1990, and I've been doing it ever since. And I just found that the masters community was very welcoming. Everybody cheers for everybody. And it was a great outlet for me to still be able to use my talent in my sport.
Of course, what was that feeling like getting into college coaching coming out of high school coaching?
Very, very different. High school coaching is its own little atmosphere. And fortunately, though, in Texas, when you're coaching high school, it's a fairly long season. So that actually prepared me for the college season because that's a long season. As soon as the kids get on campus, we are starting practices and training, and then we don't finish till the middle of March. So high school coaching in Texas was very similar because they don't finish their state meet until the middle of February. So I was a little bit more prepared as far as the length of the season goes. But the thing that made college coaching so different is that I had to go out and find the kids. Whereas high school coaching, they just show up at your school, and come out for the team. But with college coaching, you have to go find the kids and you have to try to recruit them to come to your university and find reasons that they would want to come out to the middle of nowhere in West Texas. And so it was a little hard at first because we started with no one even knew we had a program. And so it took a few years of me getting kids to NCAAs for people to say, "Oh, look, there's divers at this school and they're good. And, maybe this is a place that we should start looking." And so now the recruiting process has gotten a little bit easier because we've had such good success.
What was that like, obviously becoming the head diving coach for Permian Basin?
It's really pretty cool. And I'm the first one ever. I guess you could say I start a lot of things because I started Lubbock Dive Club. I started the City of Midland Diving Club, and I started UTPB diving. So I've started a lot of programs and they've been successful. And so all of those programs are still running strong. but this has been really fun to do, and it's awesome to be able to select kids, because the kids will apply to come to our school, they'll apply to be on our team, but when they come out and visit us, we can pretty much decide like whether or not they're going to be a good fit, based on their work ethic, based on their academics. So it's been a very interesting process. But I love coaching this age group. They're young adults. They're exciting to be around. They're great, just great kids.
Throughout your coaching career, what has it been like, obviously building up the different programs from the ground up?
It has been a lot of hard work and a lot of long hours, but it's very rewarding, especially when you get a kid that, improves so much that they're like, wow, I never thought I'd be doing these things. Or you get a kid that just touches your heart, because this is an outlet for them that they never thought they would have. It's an opportunity that they didn't realize that they were going to get. So those types of things are really special.
On the diving side, what does a typical swim meet look like for divers?
We usually, for our college meets, we usually have 2 events at a dual meet. So we'll do a 3-meter event and a 1-meter event, and just depends on where the swim coaches put those in. Sometimes we'll do one of our events before the meet starts and then do the other one later on. Sometimes we do them at the actual diving breaks. But we do 2 events per meet. If it's a dual meet, it's all in one day. So there's 6 dives on one board and then take a break and then do 6 dives on the other. If we're at an invitational, we usually have, a couple of days of events where they'll do one board one day and then another board another day.
Of course, during a dual meet, how do you keep the momentum with your divers doing up to 12 dives?
It's not that bad because during practice they do a whole lot more. So 12 dives is nothing for them. It's like, it's easy. But we do try to keep them, motivated, and we do some drill work while we're waiting to get back on the boards for our event. So, just trying to keep them focused on the good technique and the good takeoffs.
What's it like, obviously, getting to train your divers to do those high jumps up in the air?
It's fun. We are very fortunate. The training facility where we have in Midland, we have a very good dry land training facility where we have trampoline, we have the portable diving boards that are over mats, so that the kids can get a lot of practice on takeoffs and work on their jump and get their balance and everything really strong. And then in the pool, we have spotting belts. So we are able to use the spotting belts and get the kids to learn harder dives much quicker than a lot of other teams would be able to do. So that's been a really good thing for our kids.
Of course, for you, what does a typical swim meet look like for you on the side of the pool deck?
A lot of cheering for our relays. I love cheering for our swimmers. And then, trying to refocus and get the divers ready for their event. Giving them good corrections and good things to think about before each dive. So it's a very intensive but exciting day. And just seeing them succeed and dive well in a meet is awesome.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for the diving program?
The diving program here, I think we have developed a great culture. I was very fortunate that I got to start the program so I could come in and kind of set the standard of what I wanted and what I expected from my athletes. And a lot of coaches don't get that because they'll move in to a already existing program and already divers that have been recruited that they didn't recruit. So I've been able to pick good kids, have good work ethic, that want to be here, and that's been nice. And so then when they come into practice every day, they already know there's an expectation that they're going to be getting whatever I have listed done. So in fact, now it's a rush. Everyone runs in to see which board are we on today, what dives are we working on today. They run in to try to see what the workout's going to look like, and that's been a lot of fun. They really it's a good group of kids, and they all get along very well together. And we don't allow any prima donnas on our team, so that's been very good.
During your time at Permian Basin, what are some of the things that you've accomplished on the diving side?
We have taken divers to the NCAAs. We have gotten divers into the top 16 and the top 8. Top 8 means first team All-American. So we have been able to do that. We have totally set the records for the program, and establishing new ones every year. So that's been very exciting. And we're growing the program. We started off with 1 or 2 divers, and now next year I'm going to have possibly as many as 10 or 11.
Of course, what has that experience been like going to the NCAAs?
It's been really good. At first, we weren't sure what to expect or how we would stack up against some of the other teams. But then we found out that, is good diving is good diving. And if the kids are prepared, they're going to compete well, and they're going to show what they can do. And so this past year was really good. We just came back from NCAAs where 2 of my boys were in the top 16, both boards, and one made top 8 on 1 meter. And they did very, very well, and I'm really proud of the work that they've put in.
What does the recruitment process look like for prospective student athletes looking to go dive for a program?
It's for diving, it's a little bit different. Swimmers, swim coaches can go onto a swam site and look at times. But with diving, scores don't mean anything, because the way that people score across the country is different from region to region. Some places score very high, some score very low. So I can't really just look at dive scores. The best thing for me to do is to look at video. And so there are some recruiting sites out there where kids can post videos, and we can look at their videos and see what kind of dives they're doing and what their takeoffs look like and their technique. And then we can, visit with them about that. And then now that I have more of an established program, I'm getting more and more kids who are emailing me directly and saying, hey, I'm interested in your school. What do I need to do to set up a talk and that kind of thing. So it's getting a little bit better as far as that goes, just because now our program is more known.
Of course, for you as a diving coach, what are some of the things that you look at when going out to these different programs and tournaments?
As far as looking for recruits, or as far as just looking at the competition?
Looking for recruits during the competitions.
Yeah, because I'm also I have been judging the high school state meets, so I've been refereeing some of those, and that gives me a chance to look at recruits in Texas. I've been going to club meets, so I get a chance to look at recruits from across the country at AAU, at USA Diving. So those have been good tools as well to watch kids. And usually I'm looking for kids that have some good talent, but also you can see that there is a desire to improve, and some pretty decent basic technique, so that we have a good groundwork to start with to build on.
Of course, as a coach, what has it been like, obviously, recruiting in the state of Texas with y'all having such heavy presence in the swimming programs?
Yeah, well, in Texas, I'm the only Division II school that has diving. So if kids want to go Division II, I can get them in-state tuition. So that's a nice thing. But the Division IIIs, there are some Division III schools and some Division I schools, obviously, in Texas. So we're looking for, athletes that fit our bill, and, it is a little bit hard to recruit, just because so many of them want to go to the big schools. But not everybody's ready for that level. So, so it has been, in a way, it's good, because I'm the only game out there for Division II, but it's just different.
Of course, what does that official visit look like when those prospective student athletes come to UT?
If they come out for an official visit, we try to get them to come out on a weekend when we have either a swim meet, or some activities on campus. Sometimes we get them to come out when we have like what's called Falcon Days, where it's like they give tours of the campus and they take the kids around to see everything that the campus has to offer. So those are good times for them to come. I love it when they can come for a meet, or else when they can come when we're having practice, because I want a prospective student athlete to see how my team relates to each other, how I coach them, so they can see if that's going to work for them as well.
What's it like, obviously, when those freshmen come in for the first time at Permian Basis?
It's pretty funny. The the older kids that have been here try to make them feel welcome, but the freshmen are always a little bit, a little bit shy and a little bit like nervous about things and wondering how they're going to be received and accepted. And most of them have met some of the teammates before anyway because they came out for a recruiting trip. But still, it's always a little different when you get to those first few practices. And then after about the first week, people they kind of figure out each other's personalities, and everybody kind of figures out like who they can poke fun at and who they can, tease about whatever. And the team really kind of gels pretty well, pretty quickly within the first 2 weeks.
What is it like, obviously, seeing those freshmen that come into the dive program and blossom into seniors in the 4 years?
Oh my goodness. So far I've only graduated one, because we've only had the program for 6 years. So I've only had one kid go all the way through and graduate, and he was one that I had from the time he was 6. So I had him in my club program, I had him in my high school program, and then he came to my college team. But the others, like I'll have one that'll be a senior next year, and it's going to be hard for me to say goodbye to him, because he's been just such an awesome kid. And from when he started to now, he's improved so much. He's gotten so much stronger. He's doing harder dives. And I think all of those kids are going to see that as they go through the program, that they're just going to keep improving and getting stronger. And it's just, it's a lot of fun to see them grow and change.
Of course, for your divers, what has it been like, obviously, seeing them go from the collegiate level to then now sometimes representing the national team, whether it's Team USA or Canada?
We really haven't had anybody from our team go, as far as that goes. We have had, kids that go to, they'll go to a national caliber meet, but we haven't had anybody like international yet. So for us, that hasn't really been an issue. Not that no one's talented enough, just no one has done that.
What are some of your future plans moving forward for the diving program?
We're going to continue to grow. Like I said, we started with one diver, and for a couple of years we had one diver, and then we gradually added a few more and gradually added a few more. And now next year, we'll possibly have 10 divers on our team, which is fantastic. And, just to continue to grow the program, to continue to draw kids in that are talented, and try to get more and more kids at the NCAA level and get them to get to finals.
Who are some of the teams that you compete in on the diving side?
As far as in Division II nationals, our conference, we compete against Colorado Mesa. They have some solid diving kids up there. And then at nationals, of course, there's some really good, strong programs with my friend at Clarion in Pennsylvania. They have a very strong diving program. University of Indianapolis has a very strong diving program. And so there are some really good programs out there. West Florida has a really good women's program. But it's just, there's some good diving teams out there. Within the state of Texas, we go compete against D1 and D3 schools because we don't have any other D2s here. But there are some strong divers that we get to compete against within those schools as well.
What is that like, obviously, getting to compete against those D1 and D3 schools in the state of Texas?
Yeah, we've gone and competed with TCU, which is a D1 school. We've competed against University of Incarnate Word, Division I, University of Houston. And the level of competition is a little different when the kids go to those D1 schools. The D3 schools, a lot of times they're on a similar level with my kids. We've done very well against them. We've done against Trinity and San Antonio, and some other schools. I'm trying to think of the other names, McMurray, some other schools around, but my kids have done very, very well, whether it's D1 or D3. So in fact, we went to meet it with TCU, and one of my boys won both boards. So they've done very well.
How's that been like, obviously preparing for those big teams when y'all go facing them?
It's interesting because you have to try to keep the kids calm so that they don't get nervous about going up against a bigger school, a bigger name school. And I just try to, let them know, hey, you've done the work and you're prepared and you can do your dives as well as anyone can. So just go out there and do what we do every day in practice, and we're just fine.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to compete in college diving?
A couple of things. First of all, some of them don't know that they need to register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. That's a very important part of any college athletics. So they need to get registered with the NCAA. Then they need to start reaching out. As far as diving goes, the sooner they get videos put out on either YouTube or on a website like NCSA, the better, because then coaches can see what they are able to do. And it's okay to not post perfect videos. And that's one thing I don't think the kids understand. We don't need to see perfection. We need to see what you're working on so we can see how we can make it better. And that's fine. But also just start, emailing coaches, looking at what programs are out there, which schools have the degree plan you want to have. Because some kids are like, well, I want to dive at this school. And then they realize that school doesn't have their degree plan. So I always remind them, the degree is important because you're not going to dive forever, but you need to get a job. So make sure you look for the school that's going to carry what you want to do.
What advice would you give those freshmen that are entering their first year of college swimming?
Really focus on your academics, because if you get behind on academics your freshman year, you're in big trouble. So make sure you stay ahead of your homework assignments, stay on top of all of that. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because I think some of those kids come from high school and they don't realize that, oh, I need help in this class and I don't know how to get it. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are lots of ways that we can get tutors available for kids and things like that. And I think a lot of freshman athletes are a little bit like overwhelmed with the amount of studying that they need to do outside of class, because they've probably coasted through most of their high school, and it's a little bit different at the college level.
What advice would you give those seniors that are looking to go swim professionally, whether it's Team USA or Canada or even internationally?
If they are going to go and try to do like the senior circuit and compete, I would say that they need to make sure that they have funding to find a way to be able to afford it, because not everybody gets funded as far as, getting, their sponsorships or whatever. But if they can get funding secured and then find a good place to train and a place that they know is going to help them to get better. But most of our college athletes are not going to go that route. They're going to go and look for a job when they graduate, and they're going to, move on into what we call the real world. So, and that's totally fine. I mean, most athletes don't go past high school, and the ones that do get to compete those 4 years of college, it's fantastic for them, and they're a special group, and they should enjoy it as long as they can.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to get into college coaching right after college?
Yeah, there are opportunities out there. I would say for those that want to go straight into coaching straight from their degree, they could look into GA programs. There are several schools around the country that will hire a graduate assistant. So they'll help pay for your grad school as well as allow you to get that experience as a coach. And that's a really good way to get your feet wet and get started, because you'll have mentorship from seasoned coaches, and you'll still be able to get your graduate degree, but you'll learn a lot about the coaching process, the recruiting process, and all of that, and kind of how college coaching works, while doing that as a graduate assistant. So that's actually a great program to look into.
What advice would you give those future head coaches that are looking to get started in building their own swimming and diving program?
Well, because I started from nothing, and it is hard. It is hard to start from nothing. You have to be patient, and you have to realize that it's going to take time. It's a process. You have to kind of, you get a few kids in, and you start that program, and then you try to get a few more, and but you have to be patient, and you have to do a lot of legwork. And in other words, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of I can't tell you how many hours a week I spend on the phone or on the emails with prospective student athletes. And it was a lot more in the years when I didn't even have anybody, because it just takes time to build a program. And and then you have to sit down and take time to map out your training program for your kids, and make sure you have all of that, in order, so that they know when they come that they're going to get the best training they can get.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the swimming and diving program at?
We are on Facebook with University of Texas Permian Basin Swimming and Diving. I have my own personal Twitter page, which is @GenDives. And then also I am on Instagram at, I forget what my number is. It's different. Let me look at it real quick, because I can't remember. But I do have an Instagram page as well. And it's JAM, what is it? I'm trying to pull it up here. Can't seem to get it. Oh, here it is. My Instagram is JAM_6235. So they can find me on there as well.
Thank you again, Coach Jennifer Mangum, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the UT Permian Basin as the head diving coach.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Jennifer Mangum, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.